Well, new research from the Australia Institute shows 1 in 5 households is either underinsured or has no insurance at all due to soaring premiums. The timing could not be worse with Cyclone Alfred nearing the coast, and Federal Independent MP Zali Steggall joins us now. Good morning to you, Zali. Look, this research shows that if you don't have insurance, you're likely to lose 3/4 of your wealth, really.
Absolutely. We know this is really like an iceberg issue where the scale is actually probably much greater than what we think. So this research shows 1 in 5 households is underinsured or uninsured. So that means when events like Cyclone Alfred hit, a huge proportion of the community stand to lose the bulk of their assets and wealth that they've accumulated over their lifetime, which is in their house, right? Australians love their castle. So it's really important that we start addressing the underlying factor around why insurance is so expensive, which is climate risk and these events that keep happening more and more often. And that's why governments of all persuasions need to do much more to invest in preparation, adaptation to mitigate that climate risk.
So at the moment, what you're saying is Australians are facing almost an impossible choice to pay for rising insurance premiums or to go it alone and be uninsured and face disaster.
Absolutely. The insurance premiums have risen by, on average, across the country, 32% since 2022. So we know that is exorbitant. In some zones, and I know in my community where we have flooding risk as well, it's more like 100 to 150% increases. So it's simply unaffordable. And it's not just households being impacted, it's local government areas. They are facing increasing cleanup and sort of disaster, sort of emergency costs, and also those insurance premiums. So federal government needs to have, and that's what I'm calling for, national climate risk assessments done on a regular basis at arm's length of government, so that regardless of who's in power, we have that visibility of risk, and then adaptation plans. We need to start investing in that adaptation and resilience building to keep our communities safe.
The insurance companies say they've got rising costs as well, particularly as disasters increase all across the country, whether it's fires or floods. Is it fair to, put the onus on them? What sort of regulation would you like to see in terms of how much people are paying month by month just to keep their house insured?
Well, absolutely. This is a huge problem, and I've been hosting roundtables with the insurance industry, with banking, because remember, if a house is uninsurable or underinsured, then it's probably unmortgageable. So banks have a huge amount of their portfolio exposed to underinsurance. So this is a major problem that I think all players need to come to the table, and that's federal government, state government, local government, and insurance and banking to come up with what I think we need resilience building incentives so that communities and local government areas can actually build some preparation. So we know $1 invested in preparation and resilience building saves $11 in disaster costs. So this is an investment in the future because we know these events are going to happen more and more. But we need to legislate that whoever is in government has to have regular adaptation planning so that we mitigate these risks. And that is the exposure draft bill that I'm releasing today. And I'm calling on whoever forms government post the election to legislate national risk adaptation planning.
And Zali Steggall, all the adaptation and mitigation in the world won't prevent these disasters from hitting us all across the country in the coming decades. So when they do hit, and it's going to take a long time really to get communities ready, we know this. When they do hit, how would you like to see insurance company pay out people who have been affected? Because that was an issue in Lismore, wasn't it?
Absolutely, but we need to make sure people actually have insurance, or if they cannot afford insurance, there is a plan B, and that's where government will need to step in. We saw with the LA fires, that's something like $250 billion worth of damage, and that will flow on to premiums in Australia, there is no doubt. So we can't insure our way out of the climate crisis. We absolutely must adapt and prepare and mitigate that risk. Insurance companies, they assess risk on a yearly basis and adapt their premiums accordingly. Now, we must make sure they act ethically in fast tracking and dealing with claims, and that there is no price gouging. But at the same time, governments have to acknowledge the risk that is underpinning the rise in those premiums, and we must deal with that by way of policy.
All right, Zali Steggall, thanks for your time this morning. And obviously, we're really thinking of everyone up